show. I don't know why I really take to that idea that one character is like a believer and one character is like well, let's talk about, where this comes from. This is all lore. This is all, like whatever. But, this movie definitely firmly placed itself in the supernatural by the end of the film, which I like.
Yeah, there's something really good. Like, don't get me wrong. I love the later 80s macho characterizations, like where it's just pure muscle and screaming and guns and whatever else. But I do like that this has a balance between that and also intelligence. It seems like they really want to let you know that, Indy he's a world traveler. He is very well read. He's knowledgeable of all of this history and even like I think he's the one that tells the story of the ARK to the people.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, didn't you guys go to Sunday school? Like, right. I'm not Jewish, but like you guys should fucking know this shit. And obviously, Steven Spielberg is also getting, his own heritage in there and his, that aspect of it too, which we'll talk about. Cause I've always found it insanely cool.
Especially in that finale.
That, like the fact that it literally is like God getting retribution on the Nazis has found its way into, just one of the most popular action adventure movies of all time. Like that's just, I think we kind of, I think this movie has been in pop culture for so long that we kind of take for granted how probably insane that was in 1981.
Oh yeah. It's wild. The subtext of this movie is crazy, honestly. And I think that's also a part of the genius is that you like, as a kid, obviously you're not really picking up on that. I think at that point, probably, the Nazis were bad, but it's more of just like you're on the adventure. But yeah, watching this, every few years and really just analyzing what Spielberg's doing, especially in that finale, like the ultimate revenge, is just mind-blowing. It's fucking awesome. And it is crazy that it's in this kind of like, like world-renowned blockbuster that everyone considers one of the best movies of all time. It's just so cool. And a lot of the, people talk about it, but most of it is about like Harrison's charisma and the unbelievable action sequences, which it has plenty of.
Which are two things absolutely worth talking about for sure.
Yeah. But just that subtext is unbelievable.
But those so definitely like live on in people's minds in ways that some of maybe the other elements don't necessarily. But I like how it uses the history, how it makes him a character who is kind of passionate about history in that kind of way, but also making a display of showing like he wants to appear that he knows so much about this because he's also in competition to get the contract to be like, we want to be the guys to go and get to the ARK first and get it back for our museum and like that kind of element of it too. And Brody actually walks into his room in a single one-er take and opens the door, pops the champagne bottle and is like, you got the job. Like you're going in. And Ford, the camera's moving over and Ford's packing his suitcase. He's so excited about, that he's going to be involved in this thing. And there's two things I really love about the scene. One is the incredible sharp cut on him tossing his gun on top of the suitcase after he says, what a cautious fellow I am. That's just such a great cut. I don't even know if I can totally explain it, but it feels like I can't imagine that cutting even like a millisecond before or later. There's just something about it that's so satisfying when that gun just hits his shirt and it doesn't even finish the motion. And it's like, we're on to we're on the mission. We know what he's about to do next. And the second thing is the way that John Williams theme hits as soon as Marianne comes up in conversation. She's like, do you think that she'll be there? And that romantic little theme kicks in because you can see that he's not even left. He's still packing his bag and he's thinking about her which is perfect because that's what it cuts to when we go to Nepal and we're introduced to her and that incredible wonder of her doing the drinking contest with the locals in the dive bar, which is obviously an incredible little, one shot in and of itself. But the fact that it ends with that Harrison Ford's shadowy figure hitting the wall behind her and like looming over her as she glares at him. Back. Everything about their dynamic from that one shot and of her face lit by the fire, almost like in anger as she looks at his looming shadow. It's sick. And then she punches him in the face. So they make it literal, but like, like, you know how she feels about him from the framing.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable too to still use his iconic look. Like it's his figure with the hat and everything. You can see like the whip on his side and his holster and all of that. But now we're using it in the context of like she's actually kind of pissed at him, maybe even scared a little bit of just what's to come now that he's back in her life. And just it's an unbelievably cool way to express that. And once again, he never, like, Spielberg just finds ways of not having to have this direct dialogue in order to do it. And he uses that shadow move quite a bit in the movie, which is a really cool thing. Like he uses it again when the ARK is being taken out, and you know, it's kind of one of those things where it's like we don't want to look directly at it yet, that kind of thing. It's just such a spectacle. It's such a you know, such an unbelievable artifact. So we're gonna have it on the shadow of the wall as they take it out, and then slowly reveal it to you. He's just he's so good at that. And I guess this is also where we can lead into the conversation about
the little bit of a troubling dated dynamic of I was only a kid, you knew what you were doing, which is a bizarre interaction that definitely implies, basically states that he was having a relationship with a teenager, and does personally to me, and I think that Spielberg even has said in interviews that he kind of regrets this detail, and it does feel like it was a weird leftover from George Lucas's version of the character, where they really were meant to play up that he was like a 007. Like they were meant to play up that he did have some troubling relationship dynamics and sexual dynamics, and it was a thing that was shaved out of the character.